Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by, following my short introduction. I'm glad some people at least noticed it, but I mean, it took me a couple of minutes to do that, and it was the easiest way to actually please quite a lot of people, getting the length down, and not putting a big workload on me. Today I'm watering my mounts, and this will be the last time that we do a major update on the mounts, on the grounds that I'm going to show all my mounts as I water them. You will have to put up with the clonking of the watering. Tough. I mean, most people that have seen a watering video, it's a glass bowl with a plastic glass that I use to pour over the mounts. It makes a noise. Tough. You can't put a silencer on it, can I? The idea is to just very quickly review each plant, and this will be the last time this year basically. Individual plants that like come into bloom or do something dramatic, we'll look at again individually. The other thing I wanted to say is that anything I find that's on a mount that really is not growing and is obviously not happy will come out and go out to the kitchen to be given a go in the Welsh moss. So that I'll film that, but that'll be for another day. You'll see it another day. Right, let's get going then. There are a lot of them. Unknown what that is. Basically it's an Oncidium type. It's got a spike there. I've just noticed another one there, so a couple of spikes. Maybe when it blooms we'll find out what the hell it is. It came from Jeff. Seems to be doing okay on the mounts, produced a good root system, and it's doing okay, so it can stay as it is. Next one, this is my tiny Twinkle. A few of the older leaves on the older bulbs are starting to go now. It's autumn, that's what they do. At the moment I've got one long spike, and I can't see any others, but they will follow. There'll probably be at least half a dozen spikes on that one. It usually blooms pretty well. It's getting to the edge of its mount, so possibly next spring. I might leave it another year, but it's also, it's in old moss, so probably in the spring it'll come off of that mount and either get remounted or split and remounted. This is the one with a funny name, Giesbergiana or something like that. This has grown some new growths but has yet to bloom. But it's doing okay. It's produced a massive root system. I ought to get a bit of moss on that really. It's a bit exposed, but it's not worth doing it now on the grounds that the growths that it's got are virtually mature. So it doesn't need to stay well hydrated anymore, and the temperatures are going to drop down. And I've got high humidity, so you don't really need to worry about it now. This is a Twinkle of some sort. It has a spike, it has two spikes, it has three spikes. They're ganging up on me now. It's got this one that you can see obviously, and then this bulb down here has got a spike there, but it's also got one here coming along that leaf. So three on that tiny little piece. That's one that had some rot and had to be dealt with. Went on a mount. Hasn't grown that well this year, but it has put on two new growths. Both of them are now going to bloom, so what it's done this year is good enough. It'll do better next year. Another Twinkle type. That's got one spike there that I can see. I can't see any others. That didn't grow much this year, but it was starting off with next to nothing, so it's coming on. Once we get the blooms open this time, we will identify which one's which and get a tag on them, because I'm fed up of not knowing which one's which. So we'll get that sorted. Another Twinkle type, another autumn leaf. This has grown an amount of new growths, but they're maturing late. I'm not sure there are any. There is the tiniest sign of a spike down there in the crook of that leaf. No others, but then the young growths on here are well behind some of the other plants. They're still quite immature. This is the only one that's maturing. That's the only one that's got the sign of a spike. So that one's still got some growing to do, you know. Yeah, quite a few of these. I'll have to look on dates where they got mounted, because I've got a feeling some of them have actually been there a while. Might be worth taking them off and refreshing the moss, or just refreshing the moss. Another Twinkle type. We've got some spikes are starting. They crawl up the centre of the leaf, unfortunately. So they're almost invisible until they break away from the leaf. And there's another one over there as well. So yes, we got some spikes on that one too. Whatever it is. Right, where are we? Concentrate, coffee. Now this is an Aliciara that I've had for donkey's years, and this refused to grow. But this year it has grown, so we've got several new growths on here. It's now mature enough that if it tries to bloom, I will let it. But so far it's showing no signs of blooming. It's still got a growth coming up in the middle of the plant that hasn't matured yet. We shall see. If it's going to bloom, I'd have thought it would have been on this one, and it would have done it by now. Possibly this one. Who knows? I've been struggling with that for a very, very long time, and the only reason I keep struggling with it is that the blooms are very unusual. Not the shape. They're a typical Oncidium type intergeneric shape. It's the colour, or colours, combination of colours. Very unusual. And then these two, one of them is Shelob Tolkien, and one of them is the dancing lady one that everybody has, Sweet Sugar. Which one's which, I don't know. This one's done okay since it was mounted. It's got new growth coming. That should bloom, and the plant will be strong enough to bloom if it tries. Ugh. And this is the other one, whichever one that is. This is the other one. That's the latest growth, and it has a spike. I didn't know that was there, so we do have a spike on that one. It's my phone going off. It's only a text, I won't worry about that. And there is a new growth there that seems to have stalled, which is unusual for that sort of type. So now that we have a spike on one of them, I will shortly know which one's which. But I've got a feeling this second one that I'm doing now, I've got a feeling that is the Brassica. Well, might not be, could be Sweet Sugar. One or the other. Right, so that's all that back rack done. Now I go around and do the oddities, that's my Loddigesiae kikis, some of which are growing on quite nicely, and some of them aren't. Please yourselves. It's just a set of kikis that came off from other plants, and to grow on. Some of them have grown a reasonable amount this year for kikis. I'm expecting better things of that particular amount next year. We need some growth on there. I've lost some plants. I moved them, that's why. There's been two mounts there for such a long time. I sort of looked there and I thought, where have they gone? But they got moved. One of them got put in brighter light, and the other one got put up with its friends because it was in the way being there. So that's that lot. So what I then do is move round onto this rack. This is a high one. This is a mix up here, a mix of all sorts. It's Dendrobium tortilli, finished growing. So this one will soon, it's still swelling canes, this one. We looked at this one in a bit more detail not that long ago. Might have been on a Sunday chat. But the canes are still swelling, so it's still getting watered. And this run I'm doing now has a light feed in it. Nothing's getting a heavy feed this time of year, that's for sure. And then we've got the Orangus, Mr. Sidii, finished blooming now. At least I got some blooms. It may now break into growth and start a new leaf, and it may not because of the temperatures. This is a warmer grower, and you know, my night temperatures are starting to drop down quite considerably now. Any residue heat from the day is lost, so the thermostat in here is now working at night times, which means I've currently got that set to 16, which means it drops down to 15 and then goes back up to 16 again, and it's hovers between the two. This is the Luteo alba, again first time blooming. Several plants on here, so this could in fact bloom again, but it did try and bloom a while ago and the spike aborted. I think the plant was just too young to support it, but it's managed to bloom now, so it's coming on. Next year we may get some more plantlets at the base of that, if that's its style, which it looks like it is, or we may get more leaves on the existing plants, and that's the third Orangus, that's fastuosa. Not yet to bloom, but that is quite a young plant, that one. It wasn't expected to. I was just expecting it to get a few more nice leaves, possibly drop one or two off the bottom and get a better root system. Well, it's done that, so that's had a good year. That's Tetragonum, Dendrobium tetragonum, and it's growing a new growth, but it's not as big as the previous two. That one's dropped its leaves now. That one aborted. It tried to push up a new growth and stalled. But this new growth has now put out some roots, so we do have a root system now. So again, I wasn't expecting a lot of that this year. That's actually in the Welsh moss. That came from Marius. So next year I'd expect more from that. I presume it's listening. This is the variety Laos. I've forgotten. This has done okay this year. It's put up two nice canes. Whether I get any blooms, non-bloomer, sort of comes into the virtually annually deciduous category, that one, and a rester. And the two canes have actually stopped growing, but they're still swelling. So they've stopped growing in length, and they're not putting up any more new leaves, but they're still increasing in size. So at the moment it's not being rested, but it will be soon. My little bulbophyllum, that should be doing new growths. Yes, it is. It's done its blooming, so we've got new growth here, there. We've got one there, one there, one there. That's 4. And the big one coming up there, 5, and another one there, 6. So 6, 7. There's another one there. 7 new growths it looks like on there. So they will grow on slowly through the winter, but this doesn't need heat. I'm not sure it's classed as a cool grower, but it wouldn't be a warm grower, I doubt, being a bulbophyllum, although there are a few. So this does okay and will grow through the winter. It won't stop, you know, because it's not so worried about the temperatures. And then we've got this one, which is Kaneko, and this is an unusual Kaneko for me because it hasn't actually got any blooms on for a change. This almost blooms continuously, but this has grown a lot of new growth and it's still doing it. You know, I mean, there's these two are kikis. That one's coming from the base. So this is in active growth. It seems to be permanently in active growth, and it blooms on the leafless canes. And the canes that I've grown, there's only one actually that's becoming leafless. So I'm running short of canes on where it can bloom, but it keeps repeat blooming on existing canes. So that should just keep going, that one. That'll carry on growing through the winter. It'll just slow down. Which is unusual, because if you look up the content of Kaneko, I believe it's a primary cross, and one of them is a cool grower, I believe, from deciduous forests, which means, you know, that would dry right out under normal circumstances. Right, and then the other side of this top rack are the Tolumnias. Most of them have got no tags, and until they bloom again, I'm not going to worry about what they are. But what they are in this case is a good one. That one's coming on nicely. It's growing well. Several new growths, plenty of roots, doing well, and quite a large plant, quite honestly. So that one's coming on nicely. Up here we've got a tiddler that's pushing on, but again, new growth here, and another new one here. So I mean, that's effectively got one maturing and two growths on the go, and for such a small plant, that's doing pretty well. I'm not sure whether that one's bloomed for me or not. Looking at the size of the mount and the amount of moss, that's probably one of the ones that came in the Schwerter order, because they all got put on tiny little bits of cork. And some of them have still got names. Mocha Dot, this one. And again, very strong new growth coming up here, although it is deciding to head backwards instead of forwards. That one has bloomed. That's doing okay. I mean, it bloomed on this little growth here with only 2 leaves, and it bloomed on that. And this growth here looks like it's only going to produce 2 leaves. And looking at the rest of the growths, they've either got 2, in one case 3. So this one doesn't have many leaves on the fans. That's obviously how it is. But it's coming on. Main goal with the Tolumnias in this environment is to keep the scale off of them. And some of them have had signs of scale. They've had the hippie soap, and under normal circumstances, it's another one that's got a nice strong new growth. I'm surprised that hasn't bloomed given its size, and it may still do so, but it hasn't yet. But it's coming on okay. No tag on that one as usual. But yeah, every time I've got some hippie soap mixed up, the Tolumnias get done. Whether they need it or not, because the beauty of that hippie soap is it's non-chemical, non-toxic. It doesn't do the plants any harm. You could spray them every day if you wanted. A nice spike on that one. Very small and not a strong plant, this one. So if you're looking at a Tolumnia and you want to know where the scale will be, look for a yellowing at the base of a leaf, and then pull it out slightly and look down in the crack, and that's where they will be. And if they're there, kill them, because they will take the fan down by taking the base away. They just grind away until the base of the fan actually fails. Anyway, that little new growth on there has got a nice spike, and that one's got a name as well. That's White Beauty. We've had blooms on that not that long ago, actually, so it's having another go. So this one looks like its trait is that it will bloom on every new growth, irrespective of the fact that it's only a small plant. So that are a good one. And then this one's got a spike as well, but no name. And again, this is not a strong one. And here, if you look at this fan is failing. In fact, it's coming off now while I look at it. Because it'll only, if it's going to rot, which it looks like it is because these are really flimsy, then it will take that rot potentially into other parts of the plant. And now we've got the leaves off, the next thing we do is open them up. Nope, no scale. So it wasn't scale that killed it. But anyway, it's got another new growth coming here, plus the one that's got the spike on, plus the original one that also bloomed. So that one's, again, nice new roots this year, so it's doing okay. And we're coming up to the 2 that we had out in the kitchen not too long ago that were failing. We had to go at redoing them, getting rid of the dodgy bits, so we can revisit these now. This was one of them. Didn't have very good roots, but it did have a little new growth. Well, the little new growth is coming on, and the existing growth is still growing. And no sign of scale at the moment. So this one's recovering. This will do okay. It hasn't got very good roots yet, but hopefully this new growth will produce some. Now again, this is going to slow down, and it's not going to do a huge amount during the winter because it's a bit cold. You know, these come from the Caribbean. I don't think it gets that cold there somehow, given that half the world go for their holidays there. Flake out on the beach and stuff. So, and that was the little tiny piece that I said is unlikely to grow, but we'll give it a chance. Well, I do believe it's got a fraction bigger than when it was put on that mount. And this does have signs of root growth pushing down through the moss. That might pull through. And Tolumnias can bloom when very young, you know, like 2 to 3 years. So, you know, that could push on. Right, I've reached a break point now where this lot gets left to drip. So with the camera off, I'll come back and put all these back, and then we'll start on the ones this side. So I'll be back. I might split the video in two and do that bit the following day. I'll film it now, obviously, but I might split the video in two. We shall see.